Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of the Nexius In-Depth video podcast, presented to you by me, of course, Green Marine. This episode is the first one of a multi-part series about the heads-up display of Nexius. I know that in the past I was talking about that, among other things, I'd show you how to move HUD elements, but when I continued researching about the possibilities, I found out that you probably better shouldn't do that, because only a few parts of the HUD can be moved right now, and if you move some of them you might be messing up the section where you moved them to, because there are other elements displayed sometimes which you cannot move and they would start overlapping, and that just sucks. However, I intend to keep my promise about all the other stuff I was about to show to you. In this episode I will explain the meanings of the numbers you see here in the score area of this screenshot, and I will tell you how you can change the font size of the so-called center prints. The level of difficulty this time is intermediate. Alright, I'd like to start off by explaining this particular part of the heads-up display that is not easy to understand. I'm talking about the part in the lower left corner here, which shows me 4 numbers in a horrible, unorganized manner. Heck, the development team certainly has some problems with designing the heads-up display, but let's just hope that this will become better sometime. I want you to appreciate this display anyway, and that's why I'm gonna explain the different parts of it now. First, at the bottom, you see the timer. This timer shows you either the remaining map time or the elapsed map time. If the server has a time limit set, which is the case on most servers, it will by default show the remaining time, otherwise the elapsed time. However, there is a setting that allows you to force the timer to always show the elapsed time, which means that the numbers shown are always increasing, even if the server has a time limit set. The setting is called sbar_increment_map time, which you have to set to 1 using the console or the advanced settings menu, and tada! Our first real setting that does something visually and is not found in the menu. Okay, now about the remaining stuff. As you can see, there is a big number, the 1, and 2 smaller numbers above it. What these numbers represent depends on whether you are playing in a team mode or a non-team mode. This scene is from a random MinsterGib server, and it is not a team mode, of course. In this case, the big number represents my own score. Notice, score, not frags. Score is something very different compared to frags, but I'll tell you more about that in another session. To understand the other 2 numbers above, I'll show you the scoreboard as well, and as you can see, I'm ranked 5th, and that's why you see the small 5 in the upper right corner. The upper left corner shows the score difference to the player who is placed first. Here, the first player has a score of 22, I have a score of 1, so the difference is -21. If I were to be placed first, it would be a positive number instead and show me by how many score points I'm leading compared to the player ranked 2nd. That were the numbers shown in a non-team mode, but what's up in a team-based game? Here we get a bit less information actually. First of all, the timer just works the same. The big number, however, now shows me the score of my whole team and is actually colored in my team's color. The smaller number above just shows the score of the enemy team. If you'd play a game mode that allows more than 2 teams, for example Key Hunt, the score of the 3rd team would be shown here on the left side as well. Please keep in mind that these numbers are the score of your team, which is usually the sum of scores of the players of the team, and again, is not necessarily equal to the frags of the team. Alright, enough about the elements of this score HUD. Next, I'd like to show you that you can increase or decrease the size of center prints. Center prints are consisting of 1 or more lines of text that are shown in the center of your screen for a few seconds. For example, the message of the day you see when you just connected to a server, or the message you see when you fragged someone. You can modify the size of this text as well as its duration. For this, modify the variables scr_center_size for modifying the text size and scr_center_time to modify the duration. One important thing about this feature is that the scr_center_size will only work in 2.5 and higher. This also means that it only works for demos recorded with Nexius 2.5 or higher. You cannot increase the text size of the centerprints of Nexius 2.4 demos, for example. There's a trick how we can do that too, but that will have to wait until I deal with that in another session. As an illustration, here you can see a message of the day using the default size of 11. Here, one with size 8, one with size 14, and one with size 20. As you can see, there are limitations of this feature because the font starts to get blurry once you increase the size too much. But in another episode, I'll deal with this issue too. I hope that this helped you to understand the score area of the heads-up display a bit better. In the next episode, I'm gonna tell you how you can modify the scoreboard's font size, its width, and the displayed columns. This was Green Marine for the Alien Trap development team. Have a good time and see you next week.